It clears waste from your body. It fights off infections and protects you from unseen harms. It carries oxygen throughout your body and helps maintain your muscles and your bones. It courses like a river, your literal life flowing through your veins. It's there to keep you alive. Unfortunately, it happens to be the meal of choice for some frightening creatures. And when you find yourself all alone, there's no one to stop them from having their fill. Welcome to Studies in Shadow.
Hello and welcome to Studies in Shadow. I am your host, Jack Rogers, and as always, I am joined by my fantastic co-host, Noah Bazoo. Say hi, buddy.
Oh, keep the compliments coming. I'm loving this. No, hello, everybody. Glad to be here. We said more energy before we started.
Good.
And I'm here to bring that energy.
Get pumped!
Wildcats in the house.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Bad way to start.
Bad way to start.
I was like, should I have not have made what is it called? High School Musical reference? Yeah, good. This is a scary podcast.
Ma.
Oh my gosh.
I was thinking of that, you know that video where that person is going around the house like, we can't have people know that we sit, and she's like cleaning the house and like vacuuming.
Oh yeah, it's like the mom freaking out.
Yeah, mom freaking out when guests are coming over. Pillows gotta be pumped.
Oh yeah,
gotta be fluffed.
It's like I told you to clean the couch. I'm sorry, Mom. It doesn't matter. Throw it away. We're out of time. And they just chuck the brand new couch out of the window. Yeah.
Where are the beds? Put the beds away.
So what does that have to do with our podcast?
No, that's just what I was thinking when I was like, we gotta be pumped.
Oh yeah.
Gotta be fluffed. Oh my goodness. All over the place tonight.
We're having a good start.
My goodness.
This is good.
So, just like when we do every episode, I'm lisping like crazy right now because I have my braces in. I'm tempted to take them out. Anyway, we'll figure that out later.
Makes no difference to me.
We don't know what the episode's going to be named, but we know what it's about. It is going to be about vampiric history and some of the specific lore therein. We decided on this because... Okay, I'm taking these out.
Oh, what? ASMR. No, I'm just going to talk.
It's like the beginning of that Billie Eilish album.
Ew, no.
I have taken out my Invisalign, and this is the album. Have you not heard that?
Yeah, no, I have heard that.
No. That's what it is. Anywho, so we actually put this to a vote on Facebook because we wanted you guys to decide whether we do either a specific set of lore from North America or from Europe. I thought Europe would win in a landslide. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I kind of wanted to do North America, but it's not really about what I want.
It's about what you, the fans, want.
You want.
A rainbow emoji.
You know, our vast audience of 25
don't
people.
Don't bag it, dude. It grows.
No, it's how every podcast starts, I know. And it only won by 4%.
Yeah.
Europe did.
How many people even voted? I
think around like 30.
Oh, okay.
Like 30 people voted.
Jeez, that is a pretty good split. I guess we know what we're doing next week then.
Yeah, I said that when I posted the results. I said, oh, I guess we kind of know what y'all want to hear next week because apparently y'all want to hear it. Oh no, that's just Sharpie inside of my mug. Never mind. I thought there was like a blue fuzz. My goodness. My focus is all over the place tonight. Anywho,
let's get into this.
This was a fun topic to study. It's really vague in some areas. Like, I challenge you guys to go online and just look up historic vampire stories. I had to look at a manuscript from the 1700s and transcribe it so we can read it to you today.
From the Latin.
No, I looked at the screen because all the S's are weird, all the letters look odd.
It's like an actual manuscript.
It's from, the thing that I'm gonna read is from 1741, right?
Good times.
And so I don't know what was up with their text back then, but I did not have the patience to sit there and type out what I was looking at looking at on my computer screen because I was typing this all on my phone with a Bluetooth keyboard. I turned on the voice to text and I just read what the manuscript said. Turns out Siri does not speak Old English because I had to go back and edit a lot.
I could see that, yeah.
So there might be some words, I might have missed a couple when I went back and revised that just don't make sense. It'll blend in to all the other Old English that makes absolutely zero sense.
I guess I'll say this as well, too, and I was saying this before we started. There are a lot of words, names, descriptions, just basically things that have really weird, they're really weird.
Tell them about the Strigoi.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But it's like ancient Romanian, ancient English, stuff that's very old. And the names and the words and the things they use to describe things, don't roast us because we don't get the pronunciation exactly right. We're doing it to the best of our abilities.
Roast us for other reasons.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can find some.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
I always talk first.
Name that movie.
It's Star Wars.
Yes, there you go. All right.
All right, let's get this thing started. So, do you want to tell me something you found first? Don't go too crazy into it. We want to just test the waters.
Okay. So I thought the concept of vampire started in like Transylvania. So the way I've always thought about it is I thought Vlad the Impaler
Yes.
was the original thing for a vampire.
The OG.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what people say. That's what Bram Stoker based his book off of.
Bram
Vlad the Impaler.
Stoker.
Who, by the way, was a hero, I found out. Not only was he super sadistic, but he also defended, what is it? Where is he from? Hungary? Romania?
Yeah, Hungary.
Okay.
Wait, I'm going to make sure, but continue.
He defended the country from the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he's like this war hero that the country loves, but he was just absolutely brutal. I'm sure we'll talk about him a little bit, but it didn't start in Europe. I was finding stuff from like ancient Mesopotamia. Just the concept of either like a demon or an undead creature, past human, feasting on the blood of humans.
Yes.
That's how they stay alive. That concept has been around for millennia.
Yeah. A long time.
So that's what I found out. So that's actually what I wrote. Stories of the undead and immortal bloodsuckers. I almost just wrote suckers. And the immortal suckers throughout much ancient history from ancient Egypt. Oh yeah, there's ones in Egypt too. To 14th century Bohemia, but things really took off during the Black Plague in the 16th century Europe. That's where I found was kind of the big boom with vampires.
I guess something I would say with that is like as I was doing as I was studying, the same thing you were, and I was looking back and like even on here as I'm reading, I've got dates from 1579 and even earlier 1441 and stuff like that.
Ew.
I know there's some that are way earlier, obviously, but when you walk up to anyone on the street today and you say, in 30 words or less, tell me what a vampire is.
Edward.
Yeah. Team Edward.
Team Edward.
No, that's 2015.
The Volturi.
Oh my gosh. But they do. They just say, okay, they don't like sunlight. They die if they go in the sunlight. They burn.
Garlic.
They drink blood. They hate garlic.
Our puppet should be a vampire.
Okay, we'll put it to a vote.
We'll talk about the puppet later.
These things like that, these things that just keep them, the standard vampire thing. And it's all because Bram Stoker wrote that book, Dracula. I don't remember when he wrote it. I don't have the date, and I probably should because I'm stupid and didn't write it. Anyway, he wrote that, and it has defined vampires today.
I think I know when he wrote it. I might be wrong. I think they wrote it during a time where a bunch of authors were like snowed in for the winter, and so they had a writing contest.
Huh.
That's where Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. When did Bram Stoker...
On the fly studying right now.
Hit that search button a little harder. 1897.
I was going to say, was it in the 18?
And then when did Mary Shelley write Frankenstein?
We'll do Frankenstein episode another day.
1818. I am wrong.
No, you're good.
But I am so off.
Like, when people, I've talked to some people about this, like, what do you think about vampires and stuff like that? And when people ask, like, oh yeah, Bram Stoker, or like whenever you bring him up, they think, oh yeah, he's from like the 1500s, the 1600s. Nobody realizes that he wrote it just before the turn of the century. And like, like in hindsight, like it really wasn't that incredibly long ago that he wrote Dracula, and yet, you know, the entire world basically, if without going into like depth or expert scholars, knows vampires based off what he wrote. And it's just that thing.
And then the first film depiction of a vampire, I believe, was Nosferatu.
Yes.
That dude. Was that based off of Bram Stoker?
I'm pretty sure a lot of elements were.
Yeah.
I don't remember what Nosferatu meant, if it meant anything.
Did you know they're remaking it?
I did not.
Apparently. I heard something about it.
We'll go see it.
Might just be a rumor, but I would totally be down. Nosferatu is the scary vampire y'all see in like black and white. He's bald and he's got the 2 sharp teeth in front. He doesn't have them on his canine teeth.
Whatever, yeah.
Like this stereotypical vampire. And he's got like claws too. He kind of looks like he looks like a Strigoi or a Wendigo.
Ooh.
A Wendigo with a suit on.
Good stuff right there. So you just said a word, Jack. You said Strigoi.
Strigoi.
You want to talk about your Strigoi?
Strigoi.
No.
Okay, so right before, I'll tell them the story now. Right before we hit record, Noah and I were talking about the pronunciation of a lot of these words because we may have European blood, but we are not from Europe, and so we do not know how to pronounce a lot of these words. And everywhere I look that talks about the Strigoi, which is a certain type of vampire from Romania, every American and Australian person that I watch, because those were the 2 dialects of the videos on YouTube, they pronounce it Strigoi. And then you punch it into Google Translate, and it detects Romanian, and I'll turn it up so y'all can hear. Strigoi.
No.
Strigoi.
That sounds so weird.
It may sound weird, but neither Noah nor I speak Romanian, and so who are we to judge?
I'm sorry to all our fans in Europe or Romania.
We have a couple European listeners.
We
Either
do.
that or they're using a VPN.
I don't think they're that smart. In terms of like people using a VPN, that's what I mean. All of the UK listeners are geniuses. That's why they sound so fancy.
We're going to move past the fact that you just called our audience stupid.
No, I call people who use VPNs in a different country stupid.
No. People can use VPNs in this country,
Yeah.
and it makes it look like they're in another country.
Yeah.
That's what a VPN does.
Okay.
So they could be American listeners who are just using a VPN. They look like they're from Europe.
I don't think anybody who listens to this does that.
Let's be optimistic.
Anyway, moving on. Something I have is like one of the earliest mentions of like a Strigoi was by, once again, I can't, these names are so hard, was by Huer Grando Alviokchik.
Oh, I read this.
Yeah.
I didn't write it down, but I read about
And
this.
it was from a region of Istra, which is in modern-day Croatia, and the villager is believed to have been the first real person described as a vampire because he was referred to as a Strigoi, Strigan, or Strigun, different ways they say it, in contemporary local records. Grando was supposedly terrorized his village 16 years after he died. Eventually, he was decapitated by a local priest and villagers. Way to get the job done. And a bunch of scholars and writers back in the day wrote about how about his life, about Grando's life and afterlife, and just like what could have caused him to turn into this. And that might not be the earliest mention, but everywhere I looked, that was like one of the biggest things it references the fact that in 1579 there was a reference to the fact that this guy died and he was still messing around with people years after he was dead.
I got a fun story for you later. Some super similar, but not years after his death. Try like 10 weeks.
Oh, is it the same guy?
No.
Gotcha,
It's a different one. But I mean, they did eventually do away with the corpse.
Yeah, they're pretty.
It was because of a lack of scientific understanding. Who'd have thunk?
Oh my gosh, it's like witches.
Right? This was like a different type of witch hunt. It didn't have like the accusatory system.
Where did it
Because
say
all
this?
of their accused were already dead.
Yeah. No, I read something on here and it was like, oh man, this frustrated me so badly. It basically was saying that if people in certain parts of the world where, vampirism was kind of common knowledge, or the idea of vampires was, if you just had a disease or a sickness or something was wrong with you that they didn't know what to explain, you were either a vampire, a witch, or a demon.
Yeah.
Even if like, oh, I just got burned. Nope, that's a mark of Satan.
Yeah.
You're dead.
There is one that's super relevant, actually. You know how they say vampires can't go out into the sun because they're nocturnal feeders, whatever? There was a type of, I can't remember if this was with the Black Plague. There was a type of illness that would give blisters to skin that was exposed to sun. Pretty much their skin would act out to UV rays. And
It just sounds like people who don't use enough suntan lotion.
I guess.
I'm just kidding.
No, but people saw that and they said, you
Yeah.
went out into the sun and your skin's on fire. You're a freaking vampire.
I almost wonder if that like started the trend because like I don't know like where the idea of vampires burn in the sunlight, but who's to say that like maybe somebody was suspected of a vampire and they saw them with that disease that you're talking about and that's where it started from.
Perhaps.
Because these things don't just come out of nowhere. You don't just say vampires hate sunlight. Like there has to be a reason for this thing to have stayed for millennia, like you said.
Why is this canon?
Yeah, exactly. Like why is this a fact?
Yeah.
If it is a fact anyway.
So I actually, do I want to skip ahead in my notes to where I wrote down more about Strigoi since we're on this subject? I'm going to do that.
I figured that was the first thing we would talk about since
That's
it's
a good idea.
Do you want me to say something?
I got it.
That was like, I got
Okay.
something.
So Strigoi or Strigoi,
You
according
can say
to
that.
Google Translate.
You can say that. It's
The
okay.
actual translation means three things. The third one might catch your attention.
Hey, third one.
Oh,
That's like
by the
demons,
way,
too.
Strigoi are commonly known, well, not commonly known. Those who know about Strigoi, it is commonly known that they are shapeshifters, that they can turn invisible, and that they feed on blood. Right, okay. Now with that in mind, the three translations for Strigoi or Strigoi are ghost, vampire, or poltergeist.
Oh, say which? Oh.
Poltergeist. We talked
Yeah,
about those
like
last week.
Yeah, like last week.
Last week we talked about Poltergeist, and I was like, huh? And then I remembered, oh yeah, stuff's getting thrown around and nobody can see what's happening. That
and
sounds
it's how
like
they latch onto it.
that sounds like a Strigoi. Well, imagine if it's not like a ghost and it's just an invisible monster just throwing crap around in
That's
your
even
house.
more scary.
A little bit.
He's just hunting you like, hey, here's your teddy bear. Yeet, and he
It's
throws
like
it across the room.
it's like that video game, The Hidden.
I don't know what it's about.
Oh, C Nanners plays it. Do you know C Nanners?
Nope.
He's a video gamer. Anyway, it's on YouTube.
I'm gonna Google
it's just
afterwards.
it's just this thing where the monster is invisible. You're like a deranged test subject if you're the monster, and there's like a SWAT team that goes in, and they have to kill this monster, and they can only see it if they're standing still.
Ugh.
If they are moving, they cannot see the monster.
Ew.
And even when they're standing still, they can't even see the monster that well. This has nothing to do with Strigoi lore. I don't know why I'm going into such detail about this.
That's pretty detailed. Okay.
Oh, it's a scary game.
Okay.
But anyway, invisible monster, can't see it, throwing crap around. That sounds like a poltergeist to me.
Okay. Huh. Well, that's interesting. It's kind of funny how it ties in back to that.
Yeah.
Poltergeist. Do you know how Strigoi are created?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
All the steps?
Yep.
Do you want to tell me one? And I'll tell you one.
Being the seventh child of the same sex in a family.
Looks like we have the same thing.
Yep.
So, to be turned into a Strigoi, this is according to Dimitri Cantemir.
He's a folklorist. And
Yep.
also Theodore Burada,
Burada.
who is actually, no. Theodore Burada is the folklorist, and then Dmitri Cantemir is an encyclopedist,
Encyclopedist.
respectively.
This book they wrote was published in 1882. It refers to cases of Strigoism, and it talks about how it can be created under these conditions. One, like Jack already said, you be the seventh child of the same sex in the family. So I guess that means like if they have 7 boys and you're the 7th one, you're a Strigoi.
It's like rolling snake eyes 7 times.
Exactly.
It's terrible odds.
You lead a life of sin. You're basically a sinner your whole life. Another one is you die without being married.
Oh no.
You die by execution of perjury.
Perjury.
My bad. I spelled that wrong.
That's when you...
English. Noah.
So perjury is when you give testimony, and then your testimony contradicts
The facts.
another testimony against your... Perjury is like committing perjury against yourself.
Yeah.
Right? It's incriminating yourself.
Isn't it basically like when it's like swear
It's like lying.
the whole truth, nothing but God.
Yeah, exactly.
So help you God.
It's like getting... It's like lying in court.
So you die.
If I'm wrong, somebody please tell me.
Yeah, so you die by execution of perjury, and you die by suicide, that's another way, or you die from a witch's curse. those are the ways that are recorded that you can become a Strigoi.
Strigoi.
So there's a couple of these that are like, being the seventh child of the same sex in the family, that's a really big what if. I know it's it's 50% every time when they have a kid. It's just, is it a baby girl? Is it a baby boy?
Or is it a Strigoi?
Is it
if you say boy, no, it's a Strigoi. What's that? You'll find out.
Leading a life of sin, I feel like a lot of people would do that. I don't know, but I feel like
don't we all lead a life of sin?
Yeah, but I'm thinking of bad guys. Die without being married. I'm sure there's.
That's not hard to do.
That's not hard to do at all.
I'm in that trajectory right now.
Unfortunately, death by suicide. That's another thing that, it's unfortunate to say, but that's not a rare thing.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate to say that. But I think the only two things that I'm kind of that's tough, besides the seventh child, is the fact that, execution of perjury or die from witch's curse. Those two are a bit more kind of probably harder to come by.
Perjury.
Yeah.
Pregananant.
Anyway, that's how they're created into one. So I don't know. That was just really interesting to me, and how there's a list of ways to do it. So if any of the listeners really want to be a Strigoi, you can just go back and listen and pick one of the ways. Preferably not, though, because they're pretty upsetting and depressing.
I actually have. I can't remember because I took a bunch of notes for this. I can't remember if this relates to Strigoi in general or to vampires. Strigoi in specific or vampires in general. Mm-hmm. But I wrote this. French geographer E06 Reclus said, quote, "If the deceased has red hair, he is very concerned that he was back in the form of dog, frog, flea, or bedbug, and that it enters into houses at night to suck the blood of beautiful young girls. So it is prudent to nail the coffin heavily, or, better yet, a stake through the chest of the corpse." That's actually a pretty good segue to other types of vampirism and stakes through the chest and whatnot. Tell me, what did you learn about that? Because I learned a couple things about stakes through the chest.
So, just kind of taking a backtrack. We'll go to the stake in the chest thing, but just it's interesting what you said.
What, red hair?
Well, what the whole coming from the grave kind of thing, because we've seen there's different types of Strigoi, and they come from all different places, and there's
the undead Strigoi is the most dangerous.
That's what I'm saying. The Strigoi mort. It says that a dead Strigoi is the most dangerous. They emerge from the grave in order to torment their families until their relatives die. That's so brutal.
I see you read the same Wikipedia page I did.
This is off of Nat Geo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I visited that one too.
I was like, I don't use Wikipedia that much.
I think I used History, Nat Geo, and then Wikipedia, which took me to other sources.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, that's the big thing is just when you're talking about that, nailing the coffin, making sure they're staying under, plus the 6 feet of dirt on top of them. But even then, they come back and they torment their family members. That's so sad. Until they die. That's so messed up.
That sounds like a movie. Pet Sematary. That's the one.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Terrorize the family until they're dead.
Good old Stephen King. Yeah. But what were you talking about with the stake in the chest? I want to hear about this, too.
Okay. So, first of all, it reminds me of that scene from Hotel Transylvania where the kid's asking Dracula, "Is it true that you can get killed with a wooden stake through the heart?" And he's like, "Yes, but who wouldn't that kill?" I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a really good point.
It's you died from that.
You have to kill him with a wooden stake through the heart. It's the only way. Are you sure it's the only way? I mean, it's a pretty good way to kill anything.
That kills everything.
If you put a stake through the heart, that means it's a vampire. That's another witch trial thing.
It's if we shoot you in the face, then you die. It means you're evil.
You're a vampire.
Pretty sure that's how everybody dies.
It's like in that scene in Supernatural where there's a witch, and she's like, "You can't kill me with regular bullets," and he holds up the Post-it note while he's pointing the gun at her, and it just says, "Witch-killing bullets," and he smiles at her, and then he shoots her. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a witch-killing bullet. Shoot them. Ah, they died. They're a witch. That was just a real bullet with, silver on it.
It worked, though.
It worked. It killed them, didn't it?
All right, so tell me more about the stake thing.
Okay.
I want to hear this.
Fun little tidbit. Your wealth and status determined what kind of stake you'd get in your heart.
Just period when you die, even if you weren't a Strigoi?
I'm talking about vampires.
Oh, so you have to be a vampire for this to be applicable.
Or that country's version of a vampire.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So the poor vampires who were accused after death would get a wooden stake through the heart.
As you do.
The wealthy and high-statured people,
Like political people, maybe.
just high up people, would get iron stakes through the heart.
Ooh.
We want to give you something a little more, let's say, permanent.
If you're the richest, you get a diamond.
I don't know if it was just because they're like, let's give them a nicer material, or if they just said, hey, maybe they're super powerful because they were rich, and that way they're a more powerful vampire.
Maybe just because they had the money, they just spent the money on it.
When you bury me, this is the stake I want you to use.
I mean, people pick their tombs, and they're super fancy. Look at the pharaohs, for goodness sakes. Pyramids.
But I don't know if anybody chooses to get freaking
Staked
stuck
in the
down
heart. Oh, that's true.
into the ground with a stake. Yes, defile my corpse
After I'm
I've
dead,
died.
I'm not going to care. I'm not going to be there.
That is true. Yeah, some people, I think, want to be cremated.
Yeah, so each his own.
Can't come back as a vampire if you're a bunch of ash. Get past that one, Edward.
Do you know how to prevent Strigoi? I know you have this written down, but I'm going to read it to you. There are 6 ways that I found
I don't actually think I wrote this down.
on various websites because I wanted to see if it was nonsense.
Go for it.
There were a couple that were like, there's a couple websites. I actually went to a Harvard document where it talked about early European mythology, and it talks about, like, there's like a 1-page section of like 50 pages about Strigoi, and it's like, contrary to popular belief, these, blank, 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 actually don't work. Those are like, one person said that, or it's in one text. The things we've compiled are the ones that are like commonly put in different places, and Anyway, how to prevent a Strigoi. Number 1.
Kill all 7th children.
Okay, sounds like the freaking King Herod over there. No.
Oh my gosh.
Number 1, exhume the Strigoi. Do you know what it means to exhume?
Yeah, take them out of their freaking hole in the ground.
Yeah, so just do that. Take the body out. That's it. That's number
Yes,
1.
give them to open air so they can get in and out easier.
Number 2, remove its heart and cut it in 2.
Oh yeah, I did read that.
Once again, one of those things where it's like, that would kill pretty much anything. Mm-hmm. Number 3, drive a nail in its forehead.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because the chest one wasn't enough. Double tap. Boom.
Throw headshots. That's where they came from right there.
Oh my gosh.
How to make it happen. I looked that one up because I wanted to make sure that one wasn't... Because I read that the first time and I was like, maybe they mean chest or heart. So I looked it up. No, that's in a bunch of different places and a bunch of different records from different places.
Get him right in the thinker.
Yeah. Number 4, place a clove of garlic under the tongue.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd want to die too if that happened to me. Have you ever eaten raw garlic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. Bro, I love garlic.
You've eaten a raw clove of garlic and just chewed it up.
Like when you pull it out of the wrapping and you just plop it into the yellow thing?
Yes.
Yeah. It was a dare.
Are you okay? But you didn't eat it of your own volition.
I mean, I put it in my mouth.
So I went to a wilderness survival thing called Anasazi in Arizona, and one day they're like, "Let's do a cleanse." I'm like, "Okay," and one of the trail walkers or somebody like the nurse or something said, "This is really good for your system. It like shocks it and gets rid of all the toxins." I'm like, "What is it?" "Oh, it's a clove of garlic." I didn't know that garlic would do this, but it actually, like, raw garlic makes you sick if you chew it up. Yeah. Also, it's really painful. Mm-hmm. It's super strong.
I like garlic, though.
I like garlic, too. Don't get me wrong. I'll eat all the garlic bread sticks at Olive Garden any day.
Don't make me hungry.
Oh, well, deal with it.
Step number 5 to prevent a Strigoi. Smear its body with fat of a pig killed on St. Ignatius Day.
When is St. Ignatius Day?
That's a fantastic question.
You didn't look it up?
No, I did not look it up.
When is well, if people in the audience want to know how to kill a Strigoi, if they come across one, we got it.
It's one of those things where it's like if it's killed on St. Patrick's Day, I'm like, okay, cool. I know when St. Patrick's Day is, but I don't know the date of St. Patrick's Day. I just know
the
when.
31st of July.
Cool, July. We just missed it.
Fetch, guys.
Well,
for the rest of the year, you're screwed. I'm sorry.
We can go find a pig.
Man. Yeah, find a pig, chop it up,
look at
hold
the
its
date
preserves,
on the bacon.
and then
if it says killed on July 31st, keep it.
Mark your calendars, y'all. So, according to Google, St. Ignatius was put into a new coffin and reinterred in the new church. Ignatius was beatified by Pope Paul V on 27th July, 1609, and canonized by Pope Gregory XV on the 12th of March, 1622. I still don't know why he's important.
Maybe he was a vampire. Anyway, the final step to preventing a Strigoi is to simply turn its body face down, so that if the Strigoi ever was to wake up, it would be headed to the afterlife.
Just digging down?
They just say, like...
That's what I thought when I read that. I was like, would it be just digging down?
I mean, maybe. Like, I mean, it just wakes up and it's like in dirt, so it just starts digging probably the only direction it knows how, which is up, and would be, in this case, down.
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting. It's like that, It's like that joke with the woman with the really rich husband. He's like, honey, when I die, put all my money in the attic so I can take it when I go to heaven. Mm-hmm. She's like, okay. And then he died, and somebody's like, so did you put his money in the attic? It's like, no, I put it in the basement and buried him upside down.
Oh my god!
And like, oh no! I might not be telling the joke right, but
no,
pretty much she was saying her super materialistic husband was going to hell. So that's what that reminded me of.
Oh, that's true. But that's basically most of the stuff I have on a Strigoi. I mean, there's a lot more I have, but like in terms of like interesting facts like that, I mean, I can talk to you about early communist Russia experiences with Strigoi.
Nah, I'm good. Oh my goodness.
It's like kind of like a story. 1970, series of hideous crimes shocked Bucharest. Bucharest? Yeah.
Budapest.
Did you hear about this one?
I saw...
The attacks took place at midnight during rainstorms. Victims were usually waitresses returning home from work. In 1971, Ion Rimaru was arrested and identified by teeth marks on corpses.
No, it's like Ted Bundy.
Yeah, during the trial, he was in a state of continual drowsiness. He was interrogated at night because he was not lucid at any other time. During daylight hours, Rimaru was interactively lethargic. Sentenced to death, Rimaru became violently agitated. Lots of policemen were needed to restrain him.
You can't sentence me to death, I'm already dead!
After his execution, his dad actually died of a suspicious accident. And during the investigation of that accident, it was discovered that the father's fingerprints matched those of a serial killer's active in 1944, whose crimes looked remarkably similar to those of Ion Rimaru. The similarities included the weather conditions, similar or identical names of some of the victims, and basically, it was rumored that maybe the dad was the monster that was killing people, not the son.
Jinkies. Yeah. Oh, and maybe he turned his son.
That's like kind of what it is, because they were like, they acted so strange. Like, it was like, there's more stuff about it, like how, I mean, it went into depth about how they acted during daylight hours. And it wasn't like just, they said that even some of the guards were like, it wasn't just acting, like they were physically in pain when they would like go outside or when they would do certain things with them. And it was like, they could see that they were struggling to like breathe or any number of things because they were in pain. And I was like, man, that's
interesting.
Really interesting, yeah.
Well, there's that, in the video game Vampire, you have more of a fresh memory than I do on this. There's that one chick in the hospital who thinks she's a vampire. Oh, what's it called? Something's disease. Disease where it's like something with a C. Think you're, a vampire. What is it called? Oh, Renfield syndrome.
Renfield syndrome.
Yeah, it's clinical vampirism.
Clinical
vampirism, more commonly known as Renfield syndrome or Renfield syndrome. Renfield's syndrome or Renfield syndrome is an obsession with drinking blood. So that's like Wendigo psychosis, when you believe you have to survive on human flesh.
I saw something through my reading, and it was just like about how people like not even being vampires will like want without even claiming to be a vampire will be like, oh, I drink human blood, and they'll like whether they buy it off like the dark web or they like
find donors
or just do it to their own family. Like they
Yeah.
drink blood. The thing is, you'd get sick if you did that. I mean, if you taste your own blood, that's what I always say. Don't hold your nose back and get a bloody nose because you'll throw up. Because your body, when it gets the blood in its stomach, it's like, hey, that's us. Get out.
That's like when I got my wisdom teeth removed and I stayed awake for it because I didn't trust my parents to not film me when I woke up in a drug-induced state.
That's the best part, though.
Because I don't trust what I would say under the influence. And I swallowed so much blood
Oh, ew.
that's all I threw up when I got home was just
That's
blood.
disgusting.
And that was terrifying.
Yeah.
I couldn't call up to my mom, so I literally texted her. She had just walked out of the house. She's like, I'm going to go get some stuff, okay? You just sit here. I'm like, okay.
I'm dying.
I was really dizzy. That was about it because, blood loss. And
It'll do that.
and then as soon as she leaves, like, I threw up in a bowl. Thankfully, I have great aim. And then I'm just leaning against the couch on the floor, and I text her, code red, Mayday.
It
and
was
she
red.
she comes back down. She's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah, I swallowed a lot of blood. Only it sounded more like, She's like, you swallowed a lot of blood? I'm like,
Just that's so gross. But I mean, just think like you threw up because you swallow blood. It doesn't take that much to trigger a reaction in a body, which is why like it's just weird. Like I wonder if it's just our blood that does it to us. But I feel like if like anybody drank human blood, your body would be like,
what is this?
What is this? Maybe like I know
so rich in iron.
I know like there'll be steak. Like people have medium rare steak, there's still kind of a little bit of blood maybe on
That's
it.
how I have it.
Yeah. And like that's okay. So like your body like processes that.
It's like it's heated up a lot.
Yeah, I get that, but I almost wonder if like, and this is not meant to sound cannibalistic. This is just a question.
Go for it. Sound cannibalistic.
So you eat a cow.
Go ballistic.
You eat a cow. You eat a piece of steak, and it has a little bit of blood on it, just because it's just medium rare. Mm-hmm. No side effects. Tastes fantastic. It's a piece of prime rib or prime cut steak. If you like had meat and like you put like human blood on it, just as like an experiment, would it trigger anything in the human body? Like, what if I ate it and I didn't know it looked like a normal steak, but like some of the blood, like some of it had been cooked like with human blood on it? Would I have a reaction? Or because it's been cooked and all kinds of different things, would it not affect me? Because that makes me think like these people who drink blood straight, whether like we said from donors or from buying it somehow, I'm just like, how do you do that? It makes me even wonder because like I'm like these people must not be real because that would just be crazy and make me want to throw up. But then I Google it and I see episodes of My Strange Addiction on like TMC or something, and there's a woman who drinks blood, and they have videos of her doing it.
There's also that Dark Tourist episode all about like vampires. I think he goes to like New Orleans.
Yeah.
And it's just like a vampire family. And essentially they're all just outcasts.
Yeah.
Social outcasts, and they bond over the fact that they also drink blood. But they're all super weird.
Yeah,
I mean, they're nice people.
I'm sure before they eat you. I'm just kidding.
Well, they have donors. Like, guys come and they volunteer.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And there was the whole thing, like, the dude doing the documentary is kind of standing there, and he's like, is there, like, a sexual aspect to this? Because he's from
Australian.
New Zealand. He's from New Zealand, actually. I'm probably butchering that accent. But anyway, he's like, is there, like, a sexual aspect to this? Because the dude sucking the blood is gay, and he is sucking the blood of another dude, but that dude's straight. So I don't know anything about that. I didn't think there was like some sort of sexual aspect, but he asks him. He's like, no, not at all. And what he did was he had this little tiny he did like a lance, like what they give you at the plasma thing where they prick your finger.
Make me throw up.
Or he got like a little razor, and then he just like sucked it out of his back.
Ew, no. Ew, no.
Yeah, weird, right? But yeah, steak
even
thing.
Vampires are more clean than that. They just bite you.
What? No, this was way more sterile than a vampire bite.
Bro,
He wiped it down with alcohol, did a tiny incision.
Yeah, there's no mess at the end of a vampire bite though.
Because there's nothing left.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. They're clean people.
There will be no witness. It's impossible to have witnesses if they're all dead. Pretty much the same philosophy.
That's super gross, though. But yeah, if you drink blood and you're listening to this, you do you.
I don't judge you.
But if you come near me, I'll hit you.
I won't hit you.
I'll throw haymakers.
But if you go to bite me, I'll be a little concerned.
He'll let me hit you.
Perhaps.
Anyway.
Okay.
If you do drink blood, I doubt anybody who listens to this does, but if you do or you know people, tell them to email us, because we'd like to know.
Oh, yeah. If you drink blood, we want to know why.
We want to know why. We're not trying to make fun of you. We just have no idea why. It's kind of just one of those things where we mock things that we don't understand, because that's what comedy is. But if you know, tell us, because for all of our research, we don't really know.
And we don't want to be insensitive.
Nope.
In most aspects. So do you want to? So I told you about the transcript that I transcribed earlier. Do you want me to read it? Okay.
Yes.
So this is from Joseph Piton de Tournefort. Joseph Piton de Tournefort.
That was such. He wrote Tournefort.
He wrote this book called A Voyage into the Levant, and he died in 1708, but the book was actually published in 1741. And here is the beginning of the transcript that I so painstakingly spoke into my phone and edited off of the manuscript that's in super freaking old English. Anyway, quote, "We were present at a scene, and one very barbarous in the same land," in my phone it says barbarous in the same land, "which happened upon occasion of one of those purposes which they fancy come to life again after their interment. The man whose story we are going to relate was a peasant of Mycone, it's spelled M-Y-C-O-N-E, Mycone, naturally ill-natured and quarrelsome. This is a circumstance to be taken notice of in such cases. He was murdered in the fields, nobody knew how or by whom. 2 days after being buried in a chapel in the town, it was Noise the boat that he was seen. Oh, well, it was her that he was seen to walk in the night with great haste, and he tumbled about people's goods, put out their lamps, griped them from behind, and 1,000 other monkey tricks." So people were just seeing this dude, like, agitated walking around at night. They're like, whoa, isn't that guy dead? Anywho, at first the story was received with laughter, but the thing was looked upon to be very This is a circumstance to be taken notice of in such cases. He was... What the heck? I went way back up. The thing was... Okay. At first the story was received with laughter, but the thing was looked upon to be serious. When the better sort of people began to complain of it, the papas, priests, themselves give credit to the fact, and no doubt had their reasons for so doing. Masses must be said, to be sure. But for all of this, the peasant drove his old trade and heeded nothing they could do. After diverse meetings of the chief people of the city, of priests and monks, it was gravely concluded that it was necessary, in consequence of some musty ceremonial, to wait till 9 days after the interment should be expired. So wait 9 days after he's dead.
Yeah.
On the 10th day, they said they had one mass in the chapel where the body was laid in order to drive out the demon which they imagined was got into it. After mass, they took up the body and got everything ready for pulling out its heart. The butcher of the town, an old clumsy fellow, first opens the belly instead of the breast. He groped a long while among the entrails, but could not find what he looked for. Where's the heart? At last somebody told him he should cut up the diaphragm. The heart was pulled out, to the admiration of all the spectators. I couldn't watch this. How could people watch this?
Yeah, I know.
In the meantime, the corpse stunk so abominably. Oh yeah, so this half of this manuscript is about how much the body stank.
The corpse stunk, yeah.
Yeah. That they were obliged to burn frankincense, but the smoke mixing with the exhalations from the carcass increased the stink and began to model the poor people's pericranies. Pericranies? Oh, well. Their imagination...
Sounds like a good time.
Their imagination, struck with the spectacle before them, grew full of visions. It came into their noddles that affect...
Noggins?
That noddles is the actual word in the manuscript.
Wow.
That affect smoke arose out of the body. durst not say it was the smoke of the incense. They were incessantly bawling out, Vrikolikas. I had to look up the pronunciation of this and write it down because there was no way I was going to memorize this. That's actually the Greek word for vampire.
So they're high, basically.
No, they're all like, Vrikolikas, Vrikolikas.
But they said that because with the mix of the smoke of the frankincense and the stink of the body, they were having visions and hallucinations. Is that what it said?
No, frankincense isn't a hallucinogen.
But go back to what you said a minute ago. It says they saw things, didn't it?
Their imagination struck with the spectacle before them, grew full of visions. So they pretty much just had mob mentality.
Oh, I thought it was going to say like they were high off of like the stench. I was like, wow.
So they...
Thank you for clarifying.
They saw like smoke coming from the body, and they're like, that can't be the incense, and then they all freaked out. That's what happened. So they're all saying, Vrikolikas, Vrikolikas, in the chapel in place before it. This is the name they give to the pretended redivity. I looked that up, and that's Latin for old materials. Doesn't make any sense. I thought it was going to be like undead or something. The noise bellowed through the streets, and it seems to be a name invented on purpose to render the roof of the chapel.
Oh my gosh.
Several there present averred that the wretch's blood was extremely red. The butcher swore the body was still warm, whence they concluded that the deceased was a very ill man for not being thoroughly dead. Or in plain, this man is not thoroughly dead, what a crime! Or in plain terms, for suffering himself to be reanimated by Old Nick. Apparently there's this dude, Old Nick,
sounds like
which
Saint
is the
Nick.
notion they have of a Vrikolikas.
It's like a necromancer or something.
Like a master vampire, something like that. They then rolled out that name in a stupendous manner. Just at this time came in a flock of people loudly protesting the plain we perceive the body was not grown stiff when it was carried from the fields to church to be buried, and that consequently it was a true Vrikolikas. I'm pretty sure I'm already pronouncing it wrong again. Which word was still the burden of this song. So this dude is like fed up. He's like, and they are still using that gosh darn word. What the heck? This dude is just fed up with the people, by the way. Because this book was made on order of the king at the time.
Oh, yeah. That always goes well.
So he's doing a report, and he's like, these people are idiots, my liege. I don't doubt they would have sworn it did not stink, had we not been there. So mazed were the poor people with this disaster, and so infatuated with their notion of the dead's being reanimated. As for us, who were got as close to the corpse as we could, that we might be more exact in our observations, we were almost poisoned with the intolerable stink that issued from it. When they asked us what we thought of this body, we told them we believed it to be very thoroughly dead. This guy is dead, people. No, he's not. Yes, he is.
I almost wonder if it's just because life was so boring back then that like the peasants and villagers were like, we have to think of something to be entertained. That sounds terrible, but I mean,
yeah, Puritan life sounds pretty boring too. So I wouldn't blame them for doing witch trials either.
But I mean, like that's like the guy even says it there. It's like it stunk. That's what happens to bodies when they start to decompose.
Yeah,
they stink.
No, it is the rot of the devil.
It's just the rot of the flesh.
The rot of flesh. Let me cut off your arm and we can see it for a few days, see what happens.
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys. That was violent. Let me see where I was. Oh, when they asked us what we thought of this body, we told them we believed it to be very thoroughly dead. But as we were willing to cure, or at least not to exasperate their prejudiced imaginations. This dude is going hard in his writings.
He's totally roasting.
These people are insane. We were represented to them that it was no wonder the butcher should feel a little warmth when he groped among entrails that were then rotting. That it was no extraordinary thing for it to emiss fumes since dawn... turned up, since dung turned up will do the same. As for the pretended redness of the blood, it still appeared by the butcher's hands to be nothing but a very stinking, nasty smear. This dude he's fed up, and so
he's just basically saying he's like they're full of it. They're either they're full of it or they're just lying straight up or they're crazy.
Listen to this. After all our reasons, They were of opinion it would be the wisest course to burn the dead man's heart on the seashore. But this execution did not make him a bit more tractable. He went on with his racket more furiously than ever. He was accused of beating folks in the night, breaking down doors and even roofs on houses, clattering windows, tearing clothes, emptying bottles of vessels. 'Twas the most thirsty devil, you know. I can tell he's just mocking these people.
Yeah, I mean...
He's like, even after they've satisfied their curiosity and watched a dude get his heart burnt.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm not done with this excitement. And they just ramp it up. And so he's just making fun of them, calling, this is a very thirsty devil, guys. I believe he did not spare anybody but the consul in whose house we lodged. Nothing could be more miserable than the condition of this island.
Oh my gosh.
All the inhabitants seemed frightened out of their senses. The wisest among them were stricken like the rest. 'Twas an epidemical disease of the brain, as dangerous and infectious as the madness of dogs. Whole families quitted their houses and brought their tent beds from the farthest part of the town into the public place, there to spend the night. They were every instance complaining of some new insult. Nothing was to be heard but sighs and groans at the approach of night. The better sorts of people retired into the country. After all this panic and more, they eventually just burned the whole body.
Yeah, I could see that. So basically, once again, mass hysteria, exaggeration, and mob mentality and confusion get the better of society. Obviously, not too many people died from this.
I don't think anybody did.
Yeah,
except the one dude who was murdered in a field.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't like It wasn't like the Salem witch trials, but still, like, people. Doesn't matter where you're from, what time period you live in. We're all still susceptible to that mass panic.
That's the other thing. If I'm cremated, you don't have to worry about burning my corpse.
Burning you twice?
Because I'm already burnt. I burned the ashes if you really want to. I don't care.
People do that. I'm confused.
What, burn the ashes?
Yeah, no. I know why, but like it's just like it's already gone.
Oh, well. Do you have a story? Because I have another thing, but I don't want to talk for 20 minutes
you're good.
straight.
I think like the only thing that I want to talk about now is we've kind of transitioned from
Strigoi
to vampires more now, since obviously we've done that. I don't know. I kind of want to go back to like the Vlad the Impaler discussion.
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah. And like how you said that he was a hero and stuff. And I'm sure most, if not everyone listening to this, knows at least some of the story of Vlad the Impaler.
He would kill his enemies by putting them on wooden stakes and watching them slowly lower by gravity.
His name was literally Vlad Dracula. That was his name. And his nickname was Vlad the Impaler. And he was born in Transylvania, Romania, which after the Austria-Hungary thing happened and a bunch of different, countries became their own independent countries, it kind of dissipated and doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, people from what my history studies have found is that, like you said, people said he was very just. And very
so
good.
he was super just, but just extremely cool.
He was disgusting, yeah. Like you said, he fought against the Ottoman Empire. He fought
them off.
Yeah, and he would do that thing where he would impale people while they were alive, obviously dead too, but alive on wooden stakes. And I'm not talking like the little ones that we see priests hold in the movies to stab a vampire. I'm talking like they have like a freaking 2x4 or something even bigger.
No, it was big. It was like a big post in the ground, really tall.
And they make a point and they just set people on top of it. And like whether it's they cut into them themselves. I think what it said is they would like put a slit in the person. Like they would cut into the person.
So they get a head start?
Yeah, basically. Like, they basically would, cut into their skin. Not enough to, cause real damage, but, it's going to hurt still. And then they would, they'd basically put you in a position where you could, put the point of the stake into that cut. And then they would
drop you.
They would, push you a little bit. And at that point, your spine would break. And you would just kind of fall over it. And then gravity would just push it through. And so he would do that. And you got to think, though, obviously, for any attacking army... Ottoman Empire speaking here, who comes in and sees that, you're going to be terrified. I don't care if you have a massive force. You walk in and you see that kind of carnage, it's going to throw you off. But, in terms of, shock and awe, it's even if he wasn't a vampire, I think he's just, a military general and a leader.
Well, it was rumored that he was fond of dining among his dying victims.
Yeah, that's
and he
something
would
I
dip
read.
his bread in their blood and eat it.
Yeah,
That's the rumor, though.
I heard something like that, and what a lot of historians also say is the fact that rather than that, he didn't dip it in their blood. But obviously, that is a truth that is a historical thing. But in what I was reading about, it was like talking about how he would always go out there because he, like it says, he was a just ruler, but he's kind of sadistic. I mean, you've got to be sadistic to allow that kind of death, punishment. And he would eat, and he would always have wine while he did it. And he would watch as they did it, especially if they were like high-ranking leaders in like the opposition.
I'd want to watch him die too.
Oh, okay. I know, but he would do that, and obviously people have like taken that as he always watched it.
How you doing up there?
Yeah, and I doubt he watched every single one of it because we know that it was like in the thousands by the end of it. And I doubt that he did it every time.
Have you seen that thing? Vlad the Impaler discovers marshmallows. No. It's just a picture of Vlad the Impaler, and he's got a marshmallow, and then he puts a wooden stick through it, and he just looks at it, and he goes, well, this is effing great.
Oh my gosh. But like, I don't know, like, with all this stuff of like, you know, vampires and stuff like that, I just almost think like, once again, it's just like mass hysteria spreads this around. And something that's kind of funny, and I'm sure you've seen this too, is like, I read this and I couldn't help but laugh just because I don't know why. This might sound really offensive, but like, there's part of the article regarding Vlad the Impaler says, according to Dracula expert,
Awesome.
Elizabeth Miller, Stoker, Bram Stoker, didn't base Count Dracula's life on Vlad Dracula, even though they are
Similar.
of the same name, from the same place, have the same resemblance because he knew, you know, from historical records, same family names of like relatives. And did the same kind of things. But it's not Vlad Dracula. She says it's not him. Yeah. It's not him. That's like me being like, okay, this guy, you know, he was shoot, I was gonna say something but I decided not to. Oh yeah, no, this dude, yeah, he walked on water. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Steve from down the street. Yeah, he walked on water. The dude turned water into wine. And I'm pretty sure that he also like helped the dead guy come back to life. But it's not Jesus. It's a guy in a book I invented. His name's Steve. I totally didn't copy off Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't. It's an original thought. You're smirking. It's not funny. Do you see how it sounds?
Yeah,
though?
yeah.
I'm sorry, like Elizabeth, but I'm sure you're a wonderful woman.
Agree to disagree.
But the fact that it has all those similarities and the fact that there's family names, you know, all these different things that we already said, it's the same person. It's just, it is.
In our not professional at all opinion. So, real quick, right before we end, I have one more story of mass hysteria.
Yes,
and then we'll close
love
off.
these stories.
Okay, I'll make this quick.
No, you don't have to.
Serbia,
Oh, good times.
1725.
Oof.
Peter Blagojevich. He died in 1725, but a few months later, 10 weeks to be exact, people in his town began to drop like flies.
Oof.
Because over an 8-day period, 9 townspeople were killed, all claiming, before they died, that they were being visited by Petar.
Wait, they told them... Wait. They claimed before they died they were being visited by him? Okay.
Yes, they're like, he came to me in the night and like...
Okay. That's ridiculous.
And like bothered me, and then they would die. Like, they claimed he would come and attack them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so, after begging the right higher-ups, the townsfolk were permitted to open his grave and examine the corpse. But instead of finding a decomposing corpse, they found instead, and this was the thing too, when bodies die, sometimes their hair grows and their nails grow, and they have blood at the corners of their mouth. And they have bloated stomachs from the gas and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's a scientific thing. They did not know that. That's why they freaked out.
Kind of like rigor mortis, too. Like when your body gets stiff and you sit up. Like these things that just people freak out about, like zombies, but it's just scientific facts that people don't recognize back then.
Oh, I didn't know you sit up when you have rigor mortis. I thought it was just going stiff after you die.
Well, yeah, but like it can make your arm step up, or like people will have like videos or pictures
right, okay.
of, like, bodies moving. Anyway.
So they found a corpse with longer hair, nails, and it actually didn't stink, which I don't believe.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Okay.
Probably
They also saw blood in its mouth,
then.
and so then they drove a stake into his chest and burnt his body to ashes.
Wait,
what's the point of that? Drive a stake into... Oh, just kill him with the stake first and then burn him. Just
make sure he can't fight back.
Right.
Yeah. No, I feel like with the stink, I feel like everything stunk back then. They didn't brush their teeth, they didn't shower, so I feel like you just get used to the stink.
There's little crap on the streets.
Yeah. I almost wonder if that's why those guys who wrote the letter to the king were like, oh my gosh, they were saying like, oh, it's not that bad. There's no stink here. And they were like, it literally is reeking. And they're like, no, we don't smell anything. It's probably because they were so used to it. That sounds awful, but I mean, like, you don't smell your own BO and stuff like that. Okay. And, I don't know. That's pretty cool. Oh, I did find that disease you were talking about with the whole
Redfield's disease?
No, the one about the Black Plague with the blisters and stuff and the boils. So I was reading through something and I found it wasn't, like we said, especially during the Middle Ages, it wasn't uncommon for anyone with an unfamiliar or emotional illness to be labeled a vampire. Many researchers have pointed out that there's a disease called, how do you say that? Porphyria? Porphyria. Porphyria. A blood disorder that can cause severe blisters on skin when exposed to sunlight. A disease that may also have been linked to the vampire legend. Something funny, a way to treat that is to have blood.
Nice.
It's a blood transfusion.
Oh, okay.
But the fact that you need blood and, whether it's... that in itself is like, vampire, no, I need a blood transfusion. No, it's not even a real thing yet. And then other things were rabies and goiters were things that people thought of as vampiric things.
Awesome.
Anyway, I wanted to find out what that was so people knew. But it's a real thing.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's our episode today. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate all the support we get on our social media. We have over 150 followers so far just on our page alone, which is super awesome. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. Please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and SoundCloud, and we've actually submitted to Pandora as of last night, so that'll be a few weeks, but you'll soon be able to find us on there. You can also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Username Studies in Shadow. For all inquiries, requests, and inquiries, you can reach us at studiesinShadow@gmail.com. All lowercase, all one word. Music composed and produced by Jack Rogers and Matthew Gonzalez. This has been Studies in Shadow. Thank you for listening, and be safe.